Last week, Iowa star running back Kaleb Johnson declared for the 2025 NFL Draft. As a top 4 RB prospect, I have the best NFL team fits for Kaleb. This and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, on today's show, I'm getting into best NFL fits for Iowa star running back Kaleb Johnson. Next, after that, the next topic, biggest draft storyline after championship weekend, and Dame's dudes with a little twist, a little spin. Keith's not here. I'm not getting grilled. I'm just telling you, these 5 players are Dame's dudes after this past weekend of college football. But guys, before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Guys, 6 foot, even 225 pounds. The man himself, Kaleb Johnson, Jr., running back. And this isn't, I want to go ahead and let you know, guys, this isn't a junior breakout season, right? He had a great season, but he had a strong season, I believe, as a freshman in 2022 as well. 151 carries, 777 yards rushing, over 5 yards per rush, and 6 rushing touchdowns. But this season, Kaleb Johnson clearly placed himself at the top of the RB prospect rankings. 240 carries, 1,535 yards rushing, 6.4 yards per attempt, 21 rushing touchdowns to 0 fumbles. Guys, I'm telling you, this is one of the best backs in college football, one of the best backs in the 2025 NFL draft class. And when I think about perfect fits, so not just perfect fits, but best team fits, I got 3 teams that I think should be eyeing him in the 2025 NFL draft. And I'm going to start with the Washington Commanders. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Brian Robinson. You got Austin Eckler and everything. But when you have Jaden Daniels, man, when I look at Kaleb Johnson, I think he is a better and kind of just more nuanced, patient version of Brian Robinson. I think he's a little bit more fluid with his footwork and everything. A guy that knows how to navigate the box, right? 7, 8, 9 defenders, and he's used to that. Iowa doesn't have a passing attack worth anything, and when you don't have a passing attack, as we've seen with Ashton Jeanty, well, I'll say this: Boise State can actually throw the ball a little bit. Like, they have weapons and a pass and a quarterback that's tough, gritty, and willing to throw the ball and can throw it. If Maddox Madison, if he was the quarterback at Iowa. Like, if he was on that Iowa roster, he'd be the starting quarterback all season, because that's just the nature of the situation. He's a better talent than what they have right now. But Iowa does not. And then you're playing in the Big Ten. There's not a lot of, like, they couldn't back teams off and make defenses play honest. Putting Kaleb Johnson in the backfield with Jaden Daniels, that's how you make them play honest. With scary Terry McLaurin, right? You got Zach Ertz, De'Ami Brown. I think they still need to upgrade the wide receiver position. But yes, for Kaleb Johnson, I 100% believe the 6 foot, 225 pound running back. He can barrel through arm tackles, barrel through defenders. He's a guy that has a nose for the end zone. He plays hard, but he also has more nuance and detail to his game than meets the eye. Right? When you see a 225-pound back, you just say, yeah, he's a plotter. He's a 3 yards in the cloud of dust type of guy. He can get what's blocked 100%. But what I love about him as well, I broke down his tape over on my YouTube channel, The Scouting Room. Go check that out. Listen, guys, what I love about Kaleb Johnson is that he can also get more than what's blocked. Right? I'm not saying that he's a Saquon Barkley, a Bijan, a Jahmyr Gibbs level prospect. Guess what? There's not a guy like that in this class, including Ashton Jeanty. None of these running backs are on that tier, right? As the kids would say, that's God tier. They're not on that tier. But these backs are absolutely good and talented, right? I wouldn't be shocked if a team late in the first round took Amari Hampton or Kaleb Johnson. So I look at the Washington Commanders and I said, listen, I think this would be a good fit. The read option game with Jaden Daniels in the backfield, again, being able to change the math for Kaleb Johnson, something he's not been used to since being at Iowa, right? They don't have a passing attack. Jaden Daniels will absolutely, with you get more weapons around him, he's going to force you to play too high because he's one of the best deep ball throwers as a prospect that I've seen in years. A guy that throws with touch, timing, anticipation, and ball placement down the field, outside the numbers. Yes, he's special in that area. And I think being able to back teams' defenses off, keep the secondary focused on stopping the long ball and the deep ball, will then open up rush lanes for a guy like Kaleb Johnson. When you get him going, you get this locomotive going downhill. I'm telling you now, guys, footwork, patience, vision, stiff arm. He also catches the ball out of the backfield, and he's functional in that way. He catches the ball better than most backs that you would expect at that size and frame. So I'm just saying, I'm just letting you know now, Kaleb Johnson absolutely should be a guy. And I think you think about Ramondre Stevenson as a potential comp for him. I think there's some parallels there. There's some similarities there that I really like in that situation. I think the Washington Commanders is absolutely a team that should have him on their radar. For me, I also look at the Minnesota Vikings, right? With the Minnesota Vikings, you just think about the fact that Aaron Jones is there, so you don't even have to use him as a full bell cow. You can re-sign Aaron Jones, right? Have that veteran in the room that can teach him the lay of the land, teach him how to be a pro running back, because one of the things they're playing running back, you want to learn how to take care of your body week after week so that you have longevity through a 17, 18-week season, right? And hopefully into the playoffs. So, yes, I think if you look at that specific situation, I think having him with Aaron Jones, you feel great about that situation because Aaron Jones, again, will be able to teach him how to be a pro, but also teach him how to just watch film from an NFL standpoint. Just teach him the game, teach him the ropes, right? Keep him, hey, stay to yourself, play your game. Don't let the defense speed you up. And I think having that valuable voice and piece in the locker room would help. But having J.J. McCarthy, another read option style quarterback or capability in terms of what he brings mobility-wise and athleticism-wise, I think that would be a great fit, right? And just be able to put him in that type of offense where you won't see stacked boxes with Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson. You're not seeing stacked fronts for a Kaleb Johnson. You're just not going to see stacked fronts if you're in Minnesota. Same thing when you're dealing, if you're in Washington, I don't think you're going to see stacked fronts. Main thing with them is just, hey, do I trust Cliff Kingsbury as a play caller? I trust Kevin O'Connell, and I trust that, hey, especially with first-year starter with J.J. McCarthy coming back next year, you're going to run the ball, set up the play action, give him easier reads, right? Change the math in the secondary, force defenses to have to play honest and face off and count for the run game, whether it is Kaleb Johnson or Aaron Jones. I think that's going to be a big part of getting a young quarterback settled, guys, getting a young quarterback settled. But if I go anywhere else, one more team fit that I think makes a lot of sense in my honest opinion, and it's crazy, the Chicago Bears, man. DeAndre Swift is there. They have Roschon Johnson, who's solid, right? The running back room needs a shot in the arm. It needs a little injection of talent, of physicality. You are in the NFC North, right? You're dealing with Green Bay. You're dealing with Minnesota. You're dealing with the Detroit Lions. All of these teams can run the ball. You need to be able to run it. And when having Caleb Williams, I think Caleb's going to have a better season next year. You get the right coaching situation in there, right play caller. I think it's going to be better for him. But giving him a run game that you can lean on. I said, you still got Swift there. I think Swift and Kaleb Johnson could be a dynamic 1-2 punch where Swift can be that home run hitter, be that change of pace back as well, and Kaleb Johnson be the hammer. So again, when I look at team fits, I have three: the Washington Commanders, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Detroit Lions. I'm looking at his skill set, and I can see a Ramondre Stevenson type of skill set with him. Little Le'Veon Bellish, maybe in terms of body control, upright stance, but footwork to navigate high traffic areas and congested areas. I love what Kaleb Johnson brings to the table. Back into the first, top of the second round, position value. Get it out of my face, guys. Get it out of my face. I don't want to hear all that. But nah, listen, I love Kaleb Johnson. I think those 3 teams are just 3 teams that could really be good fits for him, and he could be good fits for their offenses. Coming up next, biggest draft storyline coming off of conference championship weekend. That and more coming up next. Hey, Locked On NFL Draft fans, I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list is, let's just say, far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fans in your life. Perhaps you heard of it, IceShaker. IceShaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gift. I have one right here. It's a Baltimore Ravens one. This thing is sturdy. It's big. It's strong. It holds a lot of drink, whether it's your water when you go to the gym, protein shake, whatever it is. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, IceShaker has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. Go to IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% on your order. Order your team-branded bottles today at IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. IceShakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. IceShakers. Today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. You can now win up to 200 times your money on PrizePicks. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week, guys, I'm telling you, look for Lamar Jackson to throw for more than 250 yards against the New York Giants. It's quick, simple, and so much fun to challenge myself and my friends. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. PrizePicks, run your game. Biggest draft storylines after conference championship weekend in college football for the 2025 NFL draft. The cornerback class is better than anticipated. And I felt like there for weeks and feel like months, me and Keith have been trying to figure out, what does this cornerback class look like? What is it going to be potentially? When you look at, you hear the names, of course, at the top, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, Will Johnson from Michigan, Benjamin Morrison when healthy from Notre Dame. Those were the big 3, right? Those were the big 3. That was Kendrick, Drake, and J. Cole. Okay, that's the big 3 right there. But as the season progressed, right, and even Siobhan Revel being part of that top 4, big 4, maybe he's future, whatever, for all my hip-hop fans out there. Nonetheless, for me, when I look at how the season has progressed and who's taken steps forward, Trey Amos for Ole Miss, transfer out of Alabama, 6'1", 190, physical, press man corner with good athleticism. This young man will beat you up at the line of scrimmage and then run with you stride for stride down the sideline. This is a good player. Go back to that SEC championship game last year, Bama versus Georgia, and he was on the side. He was on the outside, just jacking up and manhandling, beating up one of those receivers at the line of scrimmage. He is physical. So you think about teams that want to play press man and teams that need to improve their cornerback room. Baltimore Ravens, stand up, please, right? You got Nate Wiggins, but the rest of that cornerback room has been not even a little, suspect. It's been a flaw, right? So you think about being able to play man-to-man coverage at a high level. Yes, you look at a guy like Trey Amos, who has boosted his stock this season. Texas's Jahdae Barron, I talked about him yesterday. Guys, a young man had played corner, has played safety, has played nickel. He's done it all. 5'11", 200 pounds. He is not a guy that you have to pigeonhole into one specific role. He can do everything, but this isn't like a Isaiah Simmons. He can do everything, but he is a jack of all trades, master of none. Watching Jahdae Barron this year, I am sold on him as an outside corner. Tempo, patience, footwork, leverage, pre and post snap, ball skills, competitiveness, instincts, football IQ. He plays multiple positions, meaning he knows how to read from multiple places and areas on the defense, from depth at the line of scrimmage, in the nickel. He can do all of that, guys. And I'm telling you, with his body type, 5'11", 200 pounds, Jahdae Barron, I could see him being the first-round pick for somebody this year. Darian Porter, the 6'4", 200-pound corner from Iowa State, another big body, long limb kid that can play press man and be physical with you, but maybe better off for some people, better off into a zone style scheme, which I think for the last couple of years, it's been trending towards 73 to 75% of zone coverages in the NFL. I remember seeing that stat. I got to go back and verify it and make sure it's the same this year, but I know teams have been playing a lot of zone coverage overall. Zy Alexander over at LSU, Maxwell Harrison at Kentucky, a guy I've talked about, Mello Dotson. I'm going to tell you my dark horse right now, Azariah Thomas, 6'2", 200 pounds, a guy that day 2, we could be talking about a potential draft steal. When you look at this cornerback group, is there a Christian Gonzalez? Maybe not, man. Maybe not. I don't know. Like Christian Gonzalez is a better athlete than I think Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson is a more versatile corner in terms of coverage. He could play man, he could play zone, where I feel like Gonzo was always so good in man. He was a little iffy in zone, right? And that's just in man, you can control a lot of things. In zone, you're kind of getting to your spot, watching. It's a lot of uncontrollable variables when you're playing zone, and it can create some issues, right? Cut level of comfort for those guys who are, it's not a bad thing when you're controlling. I like controlling man-to-man corners. You want to dictate the action. You want to control the space and pace of the play and everything else in the contact. I love that. But those guys are when they're so controlling, they may not always transition well, at least early on, to playing more zone. I always go back to when Stephon Gilmore signed with the Patriots years ago, and this was before he won Defensive Player of the Year. And he said, going into that Tampa Bay Buccaneers game on Monday Night Football, I think it was Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, I'll never forget it. He said in the post game interviews in the locker room, he said, I told Bill, you brought me here to be your CB1. I'm paraphrasing. Let me go man to man. Let me go man to man with Mike Evans. And he did that, and he wiped him away. He took Mike Evans out of the game, and that continued. As the season went on, he went away from all that heavy zone stuff, and you got guys not communicating. No, he went away from it. So no, like the best man corners aren't always guys that can transition and play zone. And half the time, the best zone corners can't play man at a high level. So it is what it is. But I just look at this cornerback group, and you're going to get a mix of flavors and styles, man. And I'm just telling Takario Davis, a guy that I've seen a lot in first round mocks and everything. I think he's probably going to be a day 2 player, but his 6'4", almost 200 pounds, long arms, a guy that he wants to dictate the action at the line of scrimmage, protect the gate, his hips. He don't want you to be able to open his hips, open the gate too early. He's another guy controlling, but he might be better off but in control of his body more so, not like he has to control a rep at the line of scrimmage. He probably more suited as like a cover 3, maybe even cover 4 corner rather than a pure press man. I think it's a situation where like he's going to have to be physical at the line of scrimmage. You might have to live with some penalties early. Denzel Burke, a guy that's going to be probably a 3rd round pick, just because of how that's from the Oregon game on. Like he hasn't looked like the first rounder. Mansour Delaney has dropped off a little bit. Dorian Strong, his teammate, came on as of late as well over at Va-Tech for Virginia Tech. So at the end of the day, the point is this 2025 cornerback class, it's multiple starters from multiple schemes that can do multiple things, right? And multiple variable and a variety of height, weight, athleticism, all that is there. Everything is there. So when I look at my biggest draft storyline thing, just coming off of the weekend, because guys, you look at Dalen Everett, who I'll talk about in the next segment, he had a strong performance. Nico Reed from Oregon, Jahdae Barron had a great performance as well. Dante Manning had a strong performance. Also, like in the conference championship, Jabbar Muhammad. I forgot about my guy, friend of the show, my dog, Jabbar Muhammad, a guy that is one of the more technically sound man cover corners that I truly believe an NFL team is going to kick him down in the slot. And I just see him being the next Kenny Moore I truly believe that. Instincts, movement skills, competitiveness at the catch point. Like, yeah, man, I think he's going to be the next Kenny Moore, guys. I'm excited for this cornerback class. And, yeah, can't wait to get into more and more takes and do some topics of just grabbing the corner's name, me and Keith talk it out, how we see it on film, go over it, scouting, how we've done with some of these topics as of late, just kind of scouting a player, going through after we watch the tape. Can't wait to do that with some of these cornerbacks, man. It's going to be a good class, really good class, guys. But coming up next, we're going to close this thing out with Dame's Dude. And like I said, it's not what you typically hear on Dame's Dudes. I picked 5 guys that are absolutely getting in the club because they're my dudes from Conference Championship Weekend. That and more coming up next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch or an urge in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you placed your bets. To get in on the action, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. To get in on the action yet again, that's FanDuel.com to join today. So, guys, never waste a hunch and make every single moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, I'm kicking this thing off. I talked about them in the last segment. Dame's Dudes, 5 players. I'm not trying to decide if they're in the club. They're already in the club because they're my dudes after Conference Championship Weekend and how they played. Georgia cornerback Dalen Everett, guys, 6'1", 190 pounds. He was targeted 9 times. Texas, Quinn Ewers targeted him 9 times. He gave up 3 catches for 47 yards, passing 0 passing touchdowns, right? 2 interceptions and a PBU. The passer rating that he allowed in this game was 12. Okay, 12. Guys, that is crazy. The passer rating he allowed in coverage was 12. This young man played an outstanding game. I was very impressed with him and what he brought to the table. And it's crazy because in the matchup, the first game against Texas on the road, he had an interception in that game as well. And I just feel like I don't think he declares. But what I'm gonna say this now. He's making a case to be a summer scouting first round pick for 2026. I think he's making a case for that. And, you get into the tape this summer, you're like, man, I see a lot of talent with this young man. But it's a simple fact of the ball skills with him, right? The ball skills with him just overall and on the season, he's got 3 interceptions and a PBU. And the PBU came in that last game. But I think when you let him just play tight to the line of scrimmage, let him dictate the action, let him be a press man controlling corner, I think that's when you get the best out of him because he also does, in like think about cover 2, cover 6, things of that nature. He knows how to bait quarterbacks. He baited, I think it was Quinn Ewers when he baited him in the first game where he faked like he was doing the side saddle cover 3 bail, and he squatted on the out route to the tight end. I think it was Gunnar Helms on the outside. Gunnar Helms was going to take off route, a go route, and I think they were trying to get it to either Matthew Golden or Isaiah Bond, one of their more shifty receivers, on a quick out. He squatted, triggered downhill, and there was an interception, man. And he showcases the things you want to see: instincts, trust in himself, right? And you could tell he studies film. You could tell this young man studies and watches film. So he's in the club for sure. He's absolutely in the club for your boy DP. Coming up next, guys, Trey Stewart, running back from Jackson State. Trey Stewart, man, had around 200, maybe over 200 yards in their Jacksonville State for the Gamecocks in their championship game against Western Kentucky. 27 carries, 201 yards rushing, 7.4 yards per attempt, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's 5'10", 192. And at the end of the day, this is a young man that I think he was at Limestone 2 years ago. Didn't play. I don't believe he played at all in 2023 and everything. But Trey Stewart, just such a great season for him. 265 carries total, 1,600 yards rushing, 23 rushing touchdowns, and 3 fumbles. Again, 5'10", 192. And this young man he got the kind of a bowling ball type of frame, knows how to bounce off contact, quick feet, got some agility and elusiveness to be in the alley to make guys miss and everything. I think, on the season, he's got 71 missed tackles for us on the season, right? So he's a zone runner, day 3 pick. But man, like, for your team to win the game, to win that game against Western Kentucky, who's been playing better ball, especially offensively, and to win it the way you did, 52-12, 21 of those points came from him, man. So he set the tone in that game for them. Coming up next, guys, I got to go to another small situation, small schoolish, whatever, Army, right? Army's quarterback, Bryson Daly. Guys, I got to tell you, man, you're not going to hear us talk a lot about him as a draft prospect more than likely, but man, he's a dude for me this week. 6 foot, 220. And in a game where you're playing against Tulane, they won 35-14. He threw 2 passes. He was 2 for 2 for 17 yards. And you're wondering, well, DP, why is he a dude? 25 carries, 126 on the ground, 5 yards per pop, 4 touchdowns by himself. You hear me? 4 of their 5 touchdowns, offensively came from Bryson Daly. No, he's a Dames dude this week, man. And watching when I saw the picture of him, the still frame of him stiff arming a defender from Tulane, and his hand got underneath the chin strap, it's almost like he was choking him to keep him away. This guy is tough. He's gritty. All of the things we say about white athletes, like every single one of them, like he's going to fit every single mold. I'm just telling you right now, he's going to fit every single one of them. Don't care. Bryson Daly, hey, hats off to you, brother. You are a Dame dude this week. Get in the club, brother. I don't know if you drink. I don't know what it is. You go ahead and enjoy yourself, man. But next up, guys, you already know this guy has been a Dames dude pretty much all season. I think he's making a compelling case this year to be a day 2 pick at the wide receiver position. At 6'4", 215, Iowa State's Jaden Higgins. He caught 7 of his 10 targets for 115 yards receiving, over 16 yards per catch. And he was the lone bright spot for Iowa State in this game where they lost, to Arizona State 45-19. But it's just a simple fact of they knew you were getting the ball. You were the main guy. He led them in targets. He led them in receptions. He led them in yards. He led them in yards per catch. Jalen Noel did have had one of the 2 receiving touchdowns. The other one went to one of the running backs. But nonetheless, everybody knew who the guy was for Iowa State in the receiving room walking into that game. Yeah, when you got a 6'4", 200+ pound, 210+ pound wide receiver who can run good routes, who can keep away from smaller DBs with the ball, extending the ball from his catch point, using full extension of his long arms and everything of that nature. Yes, a guy like that, 110% is a Dames dude. I love what he brings to the table, man. Got to give him all the love and praise and shout out that he deserves. But guys, I'm gonna close this thing out. Man, you talk about. I mean, they didn't win the game, but disruptive, just top tier level performance from the man, the myth, the legend himself, number 11. For those Penn State Nittany Lions, Abdul Carter. 6'3", 250. Man, you talk about a sack, hit on the quarterback, 4 QB hurries. And listen to this, guys. Overall, pass rush win rate, 17.4%. True drop back set. His pass rush win rate jumped to 33.3%. He was like, and they did a good job trying to run at him and like do that to take him out of this game. It really didn't matter. He found a way. Just an outstanding performance. To me, what he did, I could have put him in yesterday's show as like a moneymaker. I don't think he made money. I mean, you could say he made money, but I think the money was already being made. But I think what he did was, you know how like there's certain, like on jobs, like you get that intern or somebody like, man, he's good. Like, you know, do we keep him? I think he just for the NFL draft teams for the NFL draft and teams that need edge rusher, he just said, keep me in the top 10. Keep me in the top 5. I can wreck a game. And there was a play, I think it was Tez Johnson might have been, where they threw a bubble screen or something to the right sideline, to the short side of the field, to the boundary. And he is like I think he was working towards the quarterback because they started moving Abdul around, and the burst, the acceleration, the explosiveness, the speed to then work outside from inside to outside, chase the play down, make a big hit on the receiver. He's chasing down plays. He's catching up to ball carriers and receivers and quarterback scrambling. Not only that's why I said, like, I think when you look at him and Jalen Walker, two of those hybrid guys, either one of them, I think both would grade out as first round prospects at linebacker for me. Keith always says it that he believes Abdul Carter is a better off-ball backer than Micah Parsons was. I'm not here to agree or disagree with that just yet. I kind of see the writing on the wall and why he feels that way for sure. I just look at the fact that he could play both. And if you worry about him being the stand-up edge or edge rusher on first and second downs against the run, guess what? You could put him at off-ball backer, let him get downhill, let him play the run game from there, from depth, and then you walk him down, similar to Micah Parsons on third down with the Dallas Cowboys. So, guys, that's the show. Dames, dudes, Dalen Everett, cornerback from Georgia, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa State, Bryson Daly, the quarterback, 4-touchdown man himself from Army, Trey Stewart from Jacksonville State, running back, and Abdul Carter, the edge rusher, and top 10 pick for the 2025 NFL draft class from those Penn State Nittany Lions. Guys, I enjoyed talking with y'all today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydays. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available, guys. On tomorrow's show, we will be back. We're going to talk about those QB needy teams in the 2025 NFL draft class. Does the supply meet the demand, and how should they approach it? Do you pass up on a quarterback in round 1? And are there any tier 2, day 2 quarterbacks to keep our eyes on? That and more on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.